Imagine losing everything: your home, your career, your family, your freedom, and the person you loved most in the world. Now imagine that from inside that total destruction, you discover the one thing nobody can ever take from you. That is the starting point of one of the most important books ever written. Viktor Frankl was a Jewish psychiatrist in Vienna. By the time the Second World War reached him, he had already spent years developing a new theory of psychology built around meaning as the primary human drive. Then the Nazis came, and everything he had built was taken. He spent 3 years in 4 concentration camps, including Auschwitz. His parents, his brother, and his pregnant wife all died in the camps he survived. And then he wrote a book about it. Man's Search for Meaning was written in 9 days in 1945. Frankl originally published it anonymously because he thought the experiences were too personal to put his name on. He changed his mind. The book has since sold more than 16 million copies in over 50 languages. The Library of Congress named it one of the 10 most influential books in America. It gets recommended by therapists, soldiers, grief counselors, and people going through the hardest moments of their lives. You do not get that kind of reach by accident. So what is the big idea? It is this: no matter what anyone does to you, they cannot touch your attitude toward it. Guards could take Frankl's food, his clothes, his freedom of movement, every single comfort, every connection. But they could not get inside his head and decide how he would respond. That space between what happens to you and how you choose to react to it, that is yours, always. And Frankl says that is actually enough to build a life on. This is not a comfortable idea for most people, because it removes the excuse that circumstances determine everything. Frankl watched people in identical conditions respond completely differently. Some prisoners degenerated into cruelty and selfishness. Others shared their last piece of bread. Same camp, same starvation, same brutality, different choices. He concluded that the human person retains the freedom to choose their inner response even when the outer world has been entirely destroyed. He wrote that everything can be taken from a person but one thing: the freedom to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. This sentence has been quoted so many times since then that it can sound like a motivational poster. But remember where it came from. It was not written in a comfortable study by someone theorizing about resilience. It was earned in conditions of deliberate systematic dehumanization. If this is landing for you, hit subscribe. We break down the books that actually matter, the ones that have helped real people through real hardship, and we apply them to everyday life. Links to the full text and more resources are in the description below. Here is where Frankl breaks from the psychology of his time. Freud said the main thing driving human behavior is pleasure. Adler said it is power. Frankl said neither of those gets it right. What people are really after, at the deepest level, is meaning. Not happiness exactly. Not success. Not even comfort. Meaning. The feeling that your life adds up to something, that you are here for a reason, that what you do and how you suffer is not just random noise. He called this system logotherapy, from the Greek word logos, meaning purpose or reason. It is a forward-looking approach to psychology. Instead of spending years excavating your past for the causes of your suffering, logotherapy asks, what are you living for? What pulls you forward? Frankl believed that if a person has a strong enough why, they can bear almost any how. He borrowed that line from Nietzsche, and it runs through everything he writes. He observed that the prisoners who survived the camps psychologically were often not the physically strongest. They were the ones with something to live for, a child waiting for them, a book they needed to finish, a person they needed to see again. Those who lost their sense of future purpose deteriorated rapidly, even when their physical health remained intact. The body can keep going without meaning, but something essential in the person begins to collapse. So where do you actually find meaning? Frankl lays out 3 ways, and they are pretty practical. First, through what you give to the world, something you create, build, or contribute. Second, through what you receive from the world, a beautiful piece of music, a good relationship, an experience that moves you. And third, this is the one that catches people off guard, through how you face unavoidable suffering. You do not have to be in a concentration camp for that third one to apply. That third source of meaning is the most counterintuitive. Most self-help says, minimize suffering, optimize for comfort, remove obstacles. Frankl says something different. He says that suffering which cannot be avoided is not just something to endure. It is an opportunity to demonstrate what a human being is capable of. Choosing your stance toward unavoidable pain is one of the most human things you can do. It transforms suffering from something that crushes you into something that defines your character. This does not mean suffering is good or that it should be sought out. Frankl was clear about that. He was not glorifying pain. He was saying that when pain is unavoidable, the question of what you do with it is not trivial. It is one of the central moral and psychological questions of a person's life, and it has an answer you can actually act on. Now here is something Frankl wrote that sounds like he could have written it last Tuesday. He described what he called the existential vacuum, which is basically that hollow feeling a lot of modern people carry around. You have food, you have a job, maybe you have people who care about you, but something still feels empty, like you are going through the motions but not really living. If that rings a bell, you are not alone. And Frankl was writing about this problem decades before it had a name in popular culture. He argued that this emptiness is the defining psychological problem of modern life. Traditional societies gave people meaning through religion, community, and inherited roles. When those structures dissolved, and they largely have, people were left with freedom but without direction. The result is not happiness, it is anxiety, boredom, and the restless pursuit of distraction. He saw this clearly in the 1940s and 1950s. The world he was describing has only intensified since then. He was direct about how people typically fill the existential vacuum. Conformism, doing what everyone else does and calling it a choice, or totalitarianism, surrendering your will entirely to an ideology or a leader and calling it purpose. Both are escapes from the responsibility of finding genuine meaning. Real meaning, Frankl insisted, cannot be given to you from outside. It has to be discovered by each person for themselves, through genuine engagement with their actual life. Think about the last time you scrolled for an hour and felt worse at the end than you did at the start. That is the existential vacuum doing its thing. Not because your life is terrible, but because busyness and distraction are not the same as meaning. Frankl would say the hunger you feel when that happens is real. It is not depression or ingratitude. It is the genuine human need for something that actually matters, looking for somewhere to land. One of the most useful concepts Frankl introduces is what he calls tragic optimism. This is not the forced positivity of telling yourself everything is great when it clearly is not. It is something harder and more honest. It is the capacity to say yes to life in spite of pain, guilt, and death. All three of those are unavoidable. Frankl does not pretend otherwise. But he argues that affirming life even while fully acknowledging its difficulty is both possible and necessary. The word tragic matters here. Frankl is not asking you to pretend the hard things are not hard. He is asking whether, given that they are real and unavoidable, you can still find something worth affirming in your life. Pain can become achievement through the dignity of how you endure it. Guilt can become transformation through genuine change. Death can become a spur to meaningful action while there is still time. This is a demanding philosophy, but it is an honest one. What Frankl is really getting at is that happiness is kind of a side effect. You do not get it by chasing it directly. You get it by being genuinely absorbed in something bigger than yourself, something that asks something of you. That tracks with what a lot of modern psychology has confirmed. The people who report the highest well-being are not necessarily the ones with the easiest lives. They are the ones who feel their lives have direction and weight. Frankl had a radical reframe for the question of meaning. He said most people ask, "What is the meaning of my life?" But that framing puts you in a passive position, as if meaning is something the universe owes you, something you are waiting to receive. He reversed it. Life is asking you the question, what are you offering? What are you bringing to this existence? And it is asking it right now, through the concrete specific circumstances of your actual life today. This reframe is subtle, but its effect is enormous. It shifts you from a consumer of meaning to a creator of it. It makes meaning active, not passive, and it makes the question urgent and specific. Not, is life meaningful in general, but, what does this moment require of me? What does this relationship require? What does this difficulty require? Those are questions you can actually answer. He also made an important point about the uniqueness of each person's meaning. There is no universal formula. What gives your life meaning will not be identical to what gives mine meaning. Each person has a specific task in life, a unique purpose that cannot be duplicated or substituted by someone else. Discovering it requires honest attention to your own nature, your own circumstances, and what genuinely calls to you rather than what you think is supposed to call to you. So how do you actually use this? First thing, try flipping the question. Instead of sitting around wondering whether your life has meaning, ask what your life is asking of you right now, not in some big, abstract, cosmic sense, right now, today. Is there someone who needs you to show up for them? Something you have been putting off that you know matters? A way you have been avoiding something uncomfortable that you actually know you need to face? Start there. That is Frankl in practice. Second, when you are going through something genuinely difficult, try asking Frankl's question. Is there a response to this situation that I can be proud of? You may not be able to change what is happening, but you can nearly always change how you face it. That small shift, from victim of circumstances to chooser of response, changes the psychological experience of the hardship more than most people realize until they try it. Third, look at where the existential vacuum shows up in your life. The hollow hours, the automatic scrolling, the pursuits that feel busy but leave you empty. Those are signals. Not that you are broken, but that something in you is looking for genuine engagement and not finding it. Frankl would say, take those signals seriously. They are your actual self looking for its actual purpose. The hunger is not the problem. It is the compass. There is a reason this book gets pressed into people's hands at the worst moments of their lives. It does not tell you your pain will go away. It does not promise that things will work out. What it does say is that you are not helpless in the face of what happens to you, even when you feel completely helpless. That is the kind of idea that can genuinely keep a person going, not because it is comforting, exactly, because it is true. It is also worth noting what the book does not do. It does not ask you to be grateful for suffering. It does not tell you that everything happens for a reason. Frankl was a scientist and a survivor, and he had no patience for easy consolations. What he offers instead is something sturdier, a framework for maintaining your dignity and your direction even when life has treated you in ways it should never treat anyone. Man's search for meaning has endured because the problem it addresses has no expiration date. People in every era and every circumstance face the question of whether their lives add up to something, whether the suffering they go through is random or can be given a shape, whether the freedom they have is a burden or an opportunity. Frankl answered those questions from the most extreme possible position, which gives his answers a weight that purely theoretical philosophy simply cannot match. Here is the bottom line on Viktor Frankl. A man lost everything, and I mean everything, and came out the other side with a philosophy that says, you still have a choice. Not about what happens, not about whether it hurts, but about who you are in response to it. That is not a small idea. That is maybe the most important idea anyone has ever put into a book. If you have not read it yet, it is 160 pages. You can finish it in a weekend, and it will probably change the way you look at your own hard times for the rest of your life. Tomorrow I distill Frankl into one 60-second exercise you can try right now. This video was created by combining human research and script writing with AI-assisted visuals and production. Links to the full book and more in the description below.